Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Funky Brain Podcast. And my name is Dennis, and I'm super excited to introduce a Taoist minister, a lifelong student of philosophy and happy, healthy lifestyles, master herbalist, licensed acupuncturist, wellness consultant. He's worked with individuals, companies, and groups around the world for several years, teaching transformative practice and meditation and helping them to achieve inner peace and success. The creator of multiple documentaries and movies and a New York Times best-selling author, the urban monk, Mr. Pedram Shojai. How are you today, sir?
Great. Thank you. Nice to be here.
I know. I'm really excited. What's going on out there in your world?
Well, I mean, we're home. That's part of it. But I had the foresight or the whatever the hell dumb luck of moving my family up into the mountains last June. And so now, I mean, I've got 100,000 acres right behind me and woods and, just the luxury of the outdoors, where a lot of my friends in LA and New York are, inside four walls just banging their heads on the wall thinking, damn, there's not enough on Netflix to make this okay. So yeah, we're doing great.
Yeah, that's all. And I'm fortunate enough too. And I'm right next to you in Colorado, and I am able to go out, I walk 3 to 6 miles a day and get fresh air. But yeah, you're right. There are people that are living in small boxes in urban areas that can't get out and have that fresh air that I think we so much need all the time.
I think it's a good thing for the planet. The lungs of the earth are breathing again. And it has there was kind of an intangible value to nature for most people. It's like, oh yeah, it's there. But once you take it away, suddenly it really starts to capacitate what nature is actually, been doing this whole time. And I think a lot of people are going to assign value to nature and the environment and all these things that we kind of taken for granted in this post-COVID world, where it's just like, man, don't take away my park. I love that place, right? Like, I need that.
One of the things I've been talking about a lot recently is that there is a bigger reason that all of this COVID stuff is happening. And that's, I think the world just got too big and too fast and too entitled and too motorized and microwaved and everything. And I think that this is God's way, whatever God is, the universe, of slowing us all down and saying, hey, you know what? Why don't you guys come together again, learn how to love each other again, learn how to take care of each other and focus on what's really important.
I hope it stays the precedent, right? Like, I hope that becomes the way we do, is just be like, man, do I really need to spend 2 hours in my car driving to and from another place that also has a computer? Or can I just do that from home, right? and just stop,
And once I get there, I want to be someplace else. That's our.
And I got to do all this crap. I got to have a whole separate wardrobe for this place called work, and I got to, consume petroleum to get there, and start wars in the Middle East over that. And there's all sorts of stuff that gets spun out of control when we have a petroleum-based economy that gets us marching around doing a bunch of stuff that we can just as easily do from here. I'm happy that the FedEx guy is the only guy on my road today. You know what I mean? Like, my kids are out on their bike. And so when I want to go somewhere, that's great, but I don't need a gajillion people on the roads all day, going from point A to point B. If we could all work from home and, get together when we want to see each other instead of when we're forced to, it's kind of an interesting new world.
I hope it sticks. And I'm hoping that a much deeper lesson carries through for years to come. And I think some of it will, like, when you think about that workplace that you were just talking about going to, that you have to sit in traffic and pollute the air to get there just to do the same thing you could have done back at home.
What's the point?
That commercial real estate place, like, that industry is going to be hit huge. And part of me thinks maybe that's okay because it was so overpriced, but you're like, why would I pay $100,000 a month for that office space when I can pay everybody to work from home and give them an internet connection? Things would be going a lot better. But I want to dive into your book a little bit, The Urban Monk. Can you tell me a little bit about that and how you came up with that?
Well, I was a monk. I was a real monk for several years, and realized that hiding up in the Himalayas, or, hiding in some sort of lifestyle that was secluded, was a bit decadent. And the world was sliding all around me. I grew up in Los Angeles, right? And so I'm watching people suffer. I'm watching the world go in a different direction. And so, yeah, I could sit there and do my thing and feel good about myself, but it wasn't really of service to humanity. And so I came back to the world, and integrated the teachings that I had learned from all the masters that I'd studied with. And I've been very privileged to study with some pretty inspiring people, and share that in a real life, right? Because as a monk, you're an ascetic, right? And you've got the haircut, I got the haircut. But you know, it was involuntary. For me, it was voluntary for years, and now it's not. But you know, you don't touch the world. You're not in the world. And so the problems of the world aren't yours. But as a householder, someone who has to pay bills and, you know, make rent and keep the lights on, there's a whole different set of rules. And so you don't have time to meditate for 2 hours a day. You don't have time to do 90 minutes of yoga. You don't have time for any of that stuff. You're trying to, you know, pay your bills and make life happen. So how can you live a righteous lifestyle? How can you have a life that begets vitality and awakening and enlightenment living in the real world? And so that, you know, and that book's in 30 languages, and, you know, it's all over the world. And it's really struck a chord because, you know, the misconception is that if you want to live a spiritual life, you got to change your identity and go off and be some spiritual person, right? That's not even close to the truth in where any of these traditions came from. And it's just not a practical, reasonable position for anyone to take who has kids and mouths to feed. So what is that life not for me? I got to be a cutthroat capitalist and I have to, you know, screw over my neighbors. No. So where's the morality? Where's the ethics? Where's the personal care and the practice? It's all there. You could do it. I've already, you know, I did my practice before my kids woke up. You know, I take stretching breaks. You know, you just build it into your day. And that's the part that I think a lot of people, it's all or nothing. And that's just a black and white world. That's not reality. The reality is everything's gray.
What a great explanation. And I align with those beliefs 100%. And I talk about them in my book as well. Maybe not as eloquently as you, but I say similar things. It's like when these religions came, the big religions that we talk about all the time, you know, those were 2,000, 2,500 years ago. And they didn't have traffic, and they didn't have big business and 401ks and stuff. They were like, am I going to eat today? You know, I'm going to sit under this tree for 8 hours and think about that. And so that now you have to, like, all the teachings and the commandments and the laws of the religions and everything, they were designed years ago when they didn't have all the things that we have to do today to be productive and survive and thrive. So I think the idea is, like, you take the principles and you apply them into your life today, not hide someplace, but apply them into your life today so you can live abundantly in this crazy world that we live in. And you could totally do it. And I say, what you said was awesome. You know, incorporate them into your day. You don't have to wait till tomorrow morning. If you're having a shitty day, you don't have to wait till tomorrow morning to start your day over. Go sit quietly somewhere for 3 minutes, or pull up a YouTube meditation with beach sounds or something. That's what I like to do. But I couldn't agree more with your philosophy. The movies and the documentaries that you were part of, can you tell me a little bit more about those?
Yeah, I just got sick of repeating myself in clinic, where I came back, became a doctor of Oriental medicine, and started running pretty busy, kind of like high notoriety is the right word I'm looking for, clinic in LA. Grew it to a number of clinics, had Dick Butkus as my spokesperson. We're out there trying to, you know, heal people and save the world, but it was still within the Western medical paradigm of, you know, wait till someone breaks. And so I was being the body shop. Kind of a better analogy might be like we were the MASH unit trying to heal, you know, wounded soldiers coming in. And at the end of the day, if the war keeps going, there's no reprieve. You got to negotiate a peace. So I realized we were losing the information war. We were losing the information war specifically in terms of what lifestyle is. Medicine isn't there just to fix any dumb decision you make in lifestyle. You choose the donut, you have the consequence. And then, yeah, medicine's there to hopefully save your life, but that's not necessarily the way it's supposed to be, right? Medicine's better for when you get hit by a bus, not the donut. And so I got tired of repeating myself. I was working with a lot of corporations at the time and just started videoing stuff. And I was like, video, fancy that, right? And then I got asked to do a documentary film and partner on it with a group. And at first I was like, what the hell do I know about this stuff? And they're like, dude, you're coming from a fresh perspective. You're not a Hollywood guy. We like where you're coming from. So we just started going, and then we agreed to disagree because they wanted to go into like weird conspiracy stuff. I'm like, man, this lifestyle crisis, I mean, can be solved with vegetables. Like you guys are missing it. This isn't like some weird machine that I don't have in my house that's the missing ingredient. So I bought the rights to the movie. I don't know how the hell to make a movie. So I called friends in Hollywood and was like, help. Phone a friend. So we I finished the film, came out in 2012, went into multiple markets and Netflix and all over the world and like did things. And I started well.org. And then I started making films. I did 3 feature films. Every 18 months I had a new film come out. And then I've been doing 10-part documentary series, and now I have 5-6 films slated to come out. And so I love it. Film is a really awesome medium to really help people see what's right in front of them, but get into their heads and be like, yo, you got choices, right? You could complain about the world all you want, but what are you doing today? And so my films do that, right? And that's what has been really helpful for me as a monk and an abbot of a Taoist lineage who studied with the Dalai Lama, to be like, how do you spread peace, right? Film. It's great.
Now, you mentioned well.org along the way there. And tell me a little bit about that. I know that it's an organization that's like committed to helping people help themselves, which is, I think, really our purpose for being here on earth, right? Is to help other people.
Amen.
So how is well.org doing that?
Well, through transformational media and lifestyle programs that help people, get healthier, clean up their act, get all the toxins out of their pantries, and just all the stuff that's killing people. It's kind of obvious. The answers are there. They're just not there on your broadcast television, because the people who pay for those ads have a vested interest in having you continue to buy their crappy products that poison you. Surprise, surprise, right? And so, well.org is taking a stand there. It's a B Corp. It's, worked very hard to be on the conscious capital side. We've done films and projects to help kind of highlight people that are doing really good work. And there's a lot of them. You'd be surprised. There are a lot of people doing really good work all over this world. And, they're just not on your nighttime news, right? And so that's been a big part of it. And then, the Urban Monk has got its own universe and e-learning and, everything from healing emotional trauma to helping your pets to, pediatricians teaching you how to keep your kids healthy. It's like, I have a large audience, and I ask them what keeps them up at night, and we just keep serving them and helping them. Right. And it turns out the answers are there. People are lost and confused. And if I could connect the dots and bring, Dr. X or something that I know and help one person in their life, that ripples out into their family and into their community, and it keeps going. So, man, there's plenty of work to do. This world's messed up. Right. And so, we're just helping people. And the more you do that, the more ripple effects you start to see in the world. It's been pretty cool.
Thanks for sharing all that. So again, like my past, I come from the recovery addiction phase, and which brought me to a lot of pain, which eventually brought me to this place where I understand the things that you're talking about and try to help other people understand those too. Was there something that inspired you to take this path, or were you like this from a kid? Did you be like, I want to go in and be a monk? Or did you experience a bunch of pain that brought you to that place, or what was it?
So we were refugees of the Iranian Revolution. We left because my parents were like, no, we don't agree with that. Right. And so we barely got out, the shirts on our backs. And so here you are, immigrant kid, folks lost all their money, start over. What do? You study, right? Doctor, lawyer, engineer. Those were the options for my generation. Right. So I was on track to become a doctor. I was number 1 in my high school, worked my butt off. My parents, my dad was educated, he was a civil engineer, and he started over, and he had to scrap himself all the way up, and, politics and circumstances be what they are. It was on me to, take the next generation forward and establish a beachhead, right? And bring, security back for my family. But then, I don't know, God started talking to me, right? And so I'm in UCLA, really confused about I'm just surrounded by these douchebags at the UCLA Medical Center who are just narcissistic, egomaniacal doctors who think that they're God. And I'm like walking around these corridors going like this. I'm looking down the barrel of this guy's life. I don't want this. Like, who's this? This is crazy. I'm not happy being in this scenario. And I didn't really see him helping people. They were just jacking people up on morphine. And so I started taking Tai Chi lessons, at UCLA. And I was asking God for a clue one day, just walking through, because I'm like, okay, if I'm not going to be a doctor person, that's who I thought I was going to be my whole life. So now what, right? The narrative is gone and, you're naked. And so I asked God for a clue, and a book fell out of a bookshelf. And I couldn't explain that one off, right? So I picked up the book, and it was about a Taoist master hooking up his energy center with his disciples and leading them across a raging river. I'm like, what the hell is this? But obviously books don't fall out of shelves on an everyday basis when you ask God for a clue. So I checked it out. I read it. Next day I found the lineage holder of the Yellow Dragon Monastery, happened to be in Los Angeles, California. And they burned down the temple, and the old man got out and taught only 3 people originally. And my teacher was one of them. And then I basically showed up, and he walked out there and was like, hey, I've been expecting you. So I guess I'm in, right? And studied Kung Fu and Tai Chi and qigong and shamanism. And I've just been on a magical mystery tour ever since, right? Just traveling the world and studying with enlightened masters, and would never look back. And all my friends in traditional medicine now look to me to say, hey, what do? I'm stuck, right? Because they're stuck in a system that sucks.
Wow, that's powerful stuff. I really appreciate you sharing that. I have a similar story into the, walking down the path of what's really going on. One thing I talk about is, when you go on vacation, you ever notice when you go on vacation, and we both live near mountains, but when you go on vacation, there's fresh air. You go to the beach, the mountains, or the streams, rivers, lakes, wherever you go. And when you get there, you calm down. And always at the end of your vacation, people always say the same thing. Oh, it's back to the real world tomorrow. But this isn't the real world. That's the real world. Like, we're just animals. We're just creatures. We belong there. That's why as soon as we get there, we calm down, because we're in our natural environment. This world that we live in, where we have to pay the bills and the mortgage and put the retirement plan away and sit in traffic and listen to the lawnmowers and the leaf blowers and all this stuff, it makes us sick. And we don't even realize it. And we're all walking around like this. We're sick and angry and anxious, and we don't know how to get out of it. And it's subconscious, and it's layers deep. Like, you can sit down and meditate and come to a place of peace, and then 5 minutes later you realize that you weren't even at peace yet, and then 5 minutes later you're deeper and deeper. So I can relate to everything you were just talking about, and thanks for sharing all that. Pedram, thank you so much for hanging out on the Funky Brain podcast with me today. I really appreciate it, and I hope that we could do it again sometime. And anything else that you want to leave our listeners with?
Look, peace comes from within. Energy, vitality, happiness, those all come from within. And that means rearranging your relationship with the outside world to become internally focused, to find all those things. And then you can live in the world as someone who's whole. If you're looking for answers outside of yourself, you're never going to find them, right? So there's meditation, there's a million ways to climb that mountain. Just know that you're the one who has to take those steps. No one can do it for you. And anyone who's trying to sell you on a shortcut to that is selling sugar cereal to children. There is no shortcut. You got to do the work. You got to wake up and become the enlightened person you're destined to be. It's, a few breaths away every day. Just start, find a daily practice that can do that for you.
Thank you, Mr. Pedram Shojai. I appreciate it. And thanks everybody for listening to the Funky Brain podcast, and have a great day today.
Thank you.
Hey, Dennis here. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, I need to quit? Or maybe you've tried dozens or even hundreds of times on your own, but you can't do it. If you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, call me now for a free 20-minute consultation. We'll just talk for a little bit, and we'll see if you don't feel better. And while we're all dealing with the COVID pandemic, I'm offering 2 free full 40-minute coaching sessions. We'll get you set up with the tools you need to become successful in recovery and sobriety. I know from experience, having been sober since April 8th of 2003, that it is not easy, but you don't have to do it by yourself. I'm here to help. We'll do it together. If I can get clean and sober, anybody can. So call me right now, not tomorrow when you're sick and hungover. Again, right now. I'm here to help. Have a great day.